My name's Joel Garcia. I'm the CEO of a company called CloudContactAI. I'm also the CEO of a company called AllCode. So AllCode is an advanced AWS consulting partner. We migrate and modernize people's cloud solutions. And as a consulting partner, we work with a number of different small firms who have problems to solve. So one of the problems that we had to solve was for this client called Let's Play Soccer, right? Before I do that, let me just introduce myself a little bit more. So I've been in the Bay Area for 25 years or so. I used to work at a company called LiveVox, which did hosted call center solutions. Basically, we were the people robo-dialing people for debt. And then I did another one called Same Sky Health that was a patient engagement platform using SMS. Both of those got acquired. So after doing kind of the VP of engineering startup gig for a little while, we opened AllCode to start helping our consulting clients migrate to the cloud. And then what transpired is some of our clients came to us and said, we need help. Right? So Let's Play Soccer. One of our clients, we've been working with them for about 10 years. A friend of ours initially brought them to us. They have 22 indoor soccer facilities scattered throughout the US. Kind of a weird use case, but they're profitable. They made money. They were doing pretty well until COVID hit. So what you might be able to imagine is if you're running 22 indoor soccer facilities and then COVID hits, you don't make any money. Basically, the facility shut down and now you have to pay off your 22 mortgages. That's ugly, right? So now they were in a bit of a pickle. They're our client. They were continuing to pay us a little bit, but they weren't really bringing in any money, and they had millions of dollars worth of mortgages to pay off. They came to us and said, hey, we're surviving on PPP loans. What do we do, right? So emerging out of COVID, not a lot of people wanted to go play indoor soccer and sweat on other people and do those sorts of things, right? So they came to us because they tried calling people, they tried emailing people, nothing was getting through, right? So we built them a solution, and that's the solution that we're gonna demo today, called CloudContactAI. And so effectively what this solution does is it enables them to SMS and send email in real time to their customers to try to get them to engage, to try to get them to show up for games, and then to actually try to collect their money. So basically they have 3 or 4 different use cases where they're reaching out, engaging with people, trying to drive them to the facility so that they can make more money, right? And so what's interesting is a lot of these engagement strategies lend themselves really nicely to some form of AI, because the people that are doing the communication, the messaging is almost always the same, the frequency is almost always the same. So what we built for them specifically is kind of bidirectional SMS. And so what that means is I can launch a large campaign going out to 1,000 players, asking them if they want to play. 100 people will respond. How do I process those responses in real time, right? So right now what they're doing is they staff it up with 8 different people. So they'll send out a blast to their 22 different facilities, and then they'll basically respond to those inquiries by having people say, oh, you can sign up for this team, or you can sign up for this season. A lot of things that are kind of rote that require someone to look something up in a database and get back to them. There's also a different component, which is engagement, right? So if people are having a game, they want to be reminded of the game. After a game, you may want to send them a survey. So again, things that can be automated, things that are done manually today, where an AI agent may be able to help them out. And then the last is arguably the most important part, which is billing, right? So actually, if you have 22 indoor soccer facilities and you're trying to get all these different peoples to pay you 40 or 50 bucks, it's really time consuming and painful. So what you'd like to do is you'd like to put in a strategy to automate the collections of that money so that you can grow as a company, right? So they started with us. They started with 1 facility out of the 22. they began sending these messages out, and they immediately got flooded with a response rate of basically 50%. They were cold calling people, they were emailing people, they got no response. Kind of think of it like coming out of COVID, would you have gone to a movie theater? Were you going to a restaurant? Were you going to a facility? The answer is no. So we solved this problem for Let's Play by building this platform that I'm going to show for you, which enabled them to engage with their clients, right? And so after basically a couple of months, they started using the platform for all 22 facilities. They were able to get 200 new teams in the door, and then their revenue kind of went back to where it was before coming out of COVID. So basically, their CEO liked the product so much that he gave us this nice testimonial sort of articulating how their sales process completely changed and how they not only used it for sales, they started using it for hiring, they used it for a number of different things. And so what's next for these guys is we're basically starting to build these autonomous AI agents. And so the AI agents will start to respond to inquiries, and then they'll start to generate outbound campaigns and know when the best time to generate a campaign. We're also, so that's what I'll demo real quick. So and then if people want to get into the geeky side of what we're doing in terms of the AI agents, we can also go there. But basically, we've got semi-agentic workflows, which basically means, and so how many people in the room have like run an AI to engage with a customer? Has anyone done that? Right? And so when you're running an AI to engage with a customer, you don't have any control as to what the AI is saying to it. So, in a traditional software development code world, there would be like a rules engine that you could debug, and if it said something wrong, you'd be able to go in and correct the code. What happens with these AI agents is they're kind of out in the wild, and what you have to do is you have to refine and break into tasks different portions of the ingoing prompts so that you can try to solve them. Right? And so that's why we've been preaching the semi-agentic workflow so that you have some semblance of control. Next, we've got DSPY, which is out of Stanford. And so what that does is, so now I'm able to break up the AI requests into chunks. And I need to, if I change one, it's going to change everything down the line. So I need to be able to measure how it's changing. Third thing is RAG. So how many people have heard of RAG? I'm assuming the whole room has heard of RAG. Okay, so if you haven't heard of RAG, it's called Retrieval Augmented Generation. And so in the AI space, you've heard a lot about GPUs, you've heard a lot about LLMs, large language models. Most people here won't do any of that, right? It requires incredibly expensive hardware with GPUs. That's sort of for the big boys. You're not going to be fine-tuning your models. But basically what you're going to do if you're going to invest in an AI solution is you're going to upload your content into what's called a vector database. So the vector database behaves a little bit differently than your traditional database, but it's basically doing the same thing. It's taking the input data that you have, looking it up against an index, and finding the appropriate results, right? So the two that we've used the most are Pinecone and FAISS. And so the guts of it is basically it enables you to integrate your content with the LLM without tuning on your content, right? So hence, if there's something specific about Let's Play, so for the standard example that we use is if I'm trying to schedule an appointment and I'm talking to an AI bot, the LLM is going to know nothing about my schedule availability. So I have to pass the schedule availability into the prompt to tell the AI to use that, right? So if I wanted to book a field at 11 a.m., the AI wouldn't know. I would hit the vector database, find the field availability, and then say there is available time slots at 11, 12, and at 1, and then I'd pass that into the AI as a prompt, which would subsequently use that and give back the correct response. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Cool. So we're migrating to these AI agents, and then, so let me just show you a little bit of the product demo. Again, it's a pretty robust solution. So let's play soccer, and basically what they have is they have these notions of clients, right? So what you'll notice is you have different locations. You have Boise, you have Colorado Springs, you have Lansing. These are different geographical locations in the United States, right? So each one of these has its own phone number, right? And then within one of those geographical locations, they have contacts that are specific to that client. So Boise is only going to have contacts that are specific to Boise, because I wouldn't want to communicate a campaign about Lansing to Boise. It doesn't make any sense, right? So we started out with these different silos of data that do the outbound communication. And so the one that I'm going to show to you is basically their sales campaigns. So how do these work, right? So we've got these sales campaigns where effectively this first one is someone is reaching out after a game. They've scheduled a text message to go out, which is basically, how was your game, right? So the person receives it on their phone, they pick up their phone, and then they respond, right? And so this is real data. So here we've got 33 messages that have come back. So they've sent out, how was your game? They've got 33 responses, and what you'll notice is someone has to log in and basically go through all of these responses for all of these clients, right? So basically each one of these clients has got all this huge inbox. It's a ton of data to get through. So right now what they're doing is basically they're assigning different resources to go in and work through the queue. So here's one. Hi, Samantha, my name is Brooke, and we're helping you find a team, right? And so what you can see is there's all this outbound engagement, and then the goal is really to get them to pay, right? So I'm hitting, this person is hitting Samantha up, trying to get them to go to West Jordan. So this person is similar. So we've got all this communication going back and forth. They're hiring people to answer the responses, right? And so what we're trying to get to is that you can actually do this with an autonomous agent, right? So you can start to basically not spend money on sort of rote things that you're hiring someone to do, get the agent to do it to drive more business to you. So that's the inbox. Here are the different campaigns. Then here are the clients. So one of the demos that we've got is we have a different account, which we have set up, and where we actually have it set up with one of the agents. So what I can do is I can basically go in and text the agent, can you tell me more info about CloudContactAI? And so this is sort of the beginning of the communication. So there's my text message that came in. And then what we've done, and this is the autonomous agent that we've developed that we walked through in the past with the semi-agentic workflow, is we've uploaded information on what the LLM can use in the prompt, so subsequently it can respond, so I don't require the manpower to service the operations, right? And so in terms of AI, with kind of these outbound engagement platforms, we can see slowly but surely, with regards to SMSs and emails, a lot of the responses will start to become more and more automated for what you would probably classify as tier 1 and tier 2 support. So think about if you have a problem with your Salesforce account, or you have a problem with your Jira account, you reach out, you file a ticket. Right now, there's someone on the other end who goes in and looks up in a knowledge base, they find the correct answer, and subsequently they send it back. That will all be automated, right? And so what we're starting to hear more and more about is a third component, which is currently hidden, which is kind of the voice. We'll start to have these autonomous AI voice bots, which will literally do the same thing, right? They'll make use of OpenAI's real-time voice API to basically do the transcription, pass it into the LLM, provide you with the response, and then you will have to put your RAG situation in there to give it the context of what your response will be. And so the third angle will be basically with these solutions, we've got these outbound campaigns that are going out. The outbound campaigns are scheduled and run by people. Eventually, they won't be, right? Eventually, they're just all going to be scheduled based upon your behavior at the facility. If you've been a regular player for 3 months and you haven't come for a week, you'll start to get a new campaign initiated trying to get you to go there. So the communication channels of voice, SMS, and email, they're already kind of insidious, but they're just going to become more and more addictive, for lack of a better term. Well, there are other things that they can do, right? And I think that's the best way of approaching it, right? Which is you can spend your time kind of sitting there filling out templatized responses to these things, or you can hand off and you can go do something else at the facility. Right. Yeah.
And did that happen?
Yeah, that's in the process of happening, correct?
Okay.
Yeah. And so I think, it's kind of like the horse and buggy to the car,
Right,
There was the person who used to fix the horse and buggy. That person was no longer required. There was this new thing. Engineers are required for that. You may have to learn a new skill.
Right.
But I think that's where we're headed.
Right. No, I agree with that. It's just the change management process. Was that a challenge or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no. So definitely. So initially, the AI agents didn't really work. Right, and so it's part of it's part of the RAG process with the semi-agentic workflow, simply because I think people raised their hand and said that they had used AI for customer support, right? How many of you have used it and had the AI tell the customer the wrong thing, right? And so what ends up happening is we had a scenario where we had a client coming in trying to schedule a game, and the AI was telling it could schedule, a team to play in September, but it was November, right? And so it's just and so one of the things that is tricky with the AI is that and if you've engaged with it, it's really confident.
Right.
So it will be wrong, but it will
confident.
It will
confidently wrong.
100% confident that what it's telling you is correct.
Yeah.
Until you correct it. And then if it's a good AI and you're passing in the entire message stream, it will realize it's made a mistake, but it may not apologize.
Right.
And so part of that is just, so we've had a couple of failed attempts, and it's just the iterative process and building up that, that agentic workflow so that it will start to actually work. Initially, people are just like, turn it off.
Right. And the RAG helped with.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it has to be done.
Yeah.
Right? Because what happens is, and for you, so OpenAI and Claude, they all have different data sources, and you're not 100% sure where the data is coming from.
Right.
But since it's a competent entity, it's going to state with certainty that it is correct, even though it may not have the correct source. So what the RAG enables you to do is it enables you to upload the content that you know that you want that agent to service. We will head there, right? And so what happens is as soon as you start to play with it and see, so you have to identify the different inquiries and the different prompts, and then you associate them, and then subsequently there's a finite number of requests, right? Is basically what it boils down to. So there may be the situation where you need one or two, but certainly not what the current allotment is, right? I mean, it's coming, for lack of a better term, right?
Yeah. So you do see, you think it's, in your case, 12 months out, or this is like a years out? Or?
I would, so there are, I would say, maybe 2 years, right? Is what I would guess, right? now most of the data is stored in a way to service a website, right? And so that data, the way that it was structured, we could just not pass it in that format. It wouldn't know what to do with it, right? So for example, there's this notion of games. And so the game has a notion of team 1 and team 2, right? And then the game has the notion of a roster. So what we ended up doing was basically doing, effectively an ETL out of a relational database into this NoSQL vector database so that we could put it in a format that you could generate the vector embedded index upon, right? So it's a process, right? And so initially when we tried it, just sort of passing data fields in, what we realized is that there was no context other than the headers associated with the data values. The product stores those, right? So with texting, you can use the inbound phone number, the inbound DID. So what we end up doing is if I text today, it will recognize that I'm Joel Garcia based upon my phone number, right? And then subsequent responses, it has all of the message content, right? So it's able to see that I texted September 13th. And so what happens with the agent is that all of that gets passed in so that it can use that context to generate the response, right? And so that helps it gain the AI gain context on what it should say, right? So so the key, just like the email address, for the phone, it's just the inbound DID. Oh, yeah, 9 months.
9 months.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
cool.
there's a whole,
So we need to be patient.
And so it's a different beast when you unleash it on customers. And so we were having this discussion before where if I'm using it and I'm using it as sort of a resource and then I cut and paste and stick it into a Word document, there's me sort of going through it before that Word document is presented to the customer. It's entirely a different beast when it's on the front lines.